At 11:47 p.m., Nora Hayes learned that the worst betrayals don't arrive with screaming or slammed doors. They come quietly, through side yards, whispered laughs, and hands that linger in the dark. From her kitchen window in their modest Toronto home, she watched her father cross a line that would shatter their family forever. Not with desperation, not with rage, but with calm, deliberate intention. What started as gut instinct became undeniable proof, and proof demanded a reckoning. This isn't just a story about infidelity. It's about loyalty, about the suffocating weight of silence, about what happens when the person you trusted most chooses desire over family and expects you to look away. Nora had spent her life holding her family together, the dependable daughter, the invisible pillar. But pillars crack when the foundation rots beneath them. Her father made his choice. Now she would make hers. Because betrayal doesn't end when it's discovered. It ends when someone finally refuses to stay silent. And Nora Hayes was done being quiet. Before I tell you how I caught my dad was having an affair with our rich neighbor, please tell me where you are watching from, and I want to know how far this story goes. Nora's mug froze halfway to her lips. Outside, the neighbor's porch light flickered, casting long shadows across the wooden fence that divided their properties. Her father stood in that half-lit space, too close to Elena Cross. They were laughing, softly, the kind of laughter that carries intimacy, not friendship. His hand brushed hers, deliberate, lingering. Nora felt it instantly. That electric wrongness you can't explain, only recognize. The air itself seemed to shift, charged with something dangerous and irreversible. She told herself she was overthinking, seeing patterns where none existed. But her body knew better. Her pulse hammered. Her hands trembled around the ceramic mug. This wasn't the first time she'd seen them together. Late-night conversations by the fence. Coffee handed over with smiles that lasted too long. Inside jokes she wasn't part of. But tonight felt different. Tonight, her father looked at Elena the way he used to look at her mother, 20 years ago, before exhaustion and disappointment carved the light from both their eyes. Nora stepped back from the window, heart pounding. She wanted to be wrong. Desperately, achingly wrong. But the dread pooling in her stomach told a different story. One she couldn't unhear. One that would rewrite everything she thought she knew about her family. The fence between their houses suddenly felt meaningless. The real divide was much, much closer. Elena Cross was everything the Hayes family wasn't. She drove a sleek German sedan that gleamed under streetlights, wore tailored coats and designer heels, carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who never had to count pennies at a checkout counter. Their Scarborough neighborhood was working class, filled with people grinding through warehouse shifts and retail hours, exhaustion worn like a second skin. The Hayes family fit that mold perfectly. Michael had spent 20 years in middle management at a logistics company, watching younger employees leap past him while he stayed anchored in place. Linda worked retail, her feet aching by midday, her dreams long buried under bills and responsibilities. Elena represented escape, success, sophistication, a life Michael had convinced himself he deserved but could never reach. Nora had watched the shift happen gradually. Her father started dressing better. Cologne appeared on the bathroom counter. He worked late more often, returning home with vague explanations and distant eyes. Elena had moved in 8 months ago, fresh from a divorce, seemingly unbothered by starting over. She smiled easily at everyone, brought wine to block parties, complimented Linda's garden. She played the role of friendly neighbor perfectly. But Nora saw through it now. The way Elena's gaze lingered on Michael. How she always seemed to be outside when he left for work. Those casual touches that carried weight. Her father was falling. And Elena was letting him. Linda shuffled into the kitchen still wearing her discount store uniform, name tag crooked, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. "Why are you staring out there again?" she asked gently, filling a glass with tap water. Nora's throat tightened. "Dad's with Elena. Again. Doesn't that bother you?" Linda's shoulders sagged. She rubbed her temples, a gesture Nora had seen 1,000 times, the physical manifestation of someone too tired to fight anymore. He's just talking, Nora. She's our neighbor. Let it go. Mom. Life's hard enough without borrowing trouble. Linda's voice carried a warning edge. Your father works hard. If chatting with the neighbor helps him unwind, so be it. Nora wanted to scream, to shake her mother awake, to force her to see what was happening right outside their window. But she recognized that look, the determination to believe the comfortable lie rather than face the devastating truth. Linda had built her entire life around this marriage. 3 decades of compromise, sacrifice, and making do. Acknowledging Michael's affair would mean admitting those years were built on sand. So she chose denial. And Nora watched her mother retreat upstairs, shoulders hunched, carrying the weight of willful ignorance like armor against a truth she couldn't survive. But denial doesn't bring peace. It just delays the inevitable collapse. Ethan sprawled across the couch downstairs, still in his grease-stained work clothes, beer in hand, eyes glazed from scrolling his phone. You're being paranoid, he said without looking up when Nora told him what she'd seen. I'm not imagining this. Dad wouldn't do that. Ethan finally met her gaze, annoyed at the interruption.
He's solid.
You're just stressed. Of course, Ethan believed that. Michael had always believed in Ethan, his potential, his dreams, even his countless mistakes. The failed business ventures Dad helped fund. The DUI Dad covered up. The job Dad secured through connections when Ethan couldn't hold one on his own. Ethan was the golden son, the one worth investing in. Nora was the dependable daughter, the one who handled things quietly, who never needed help because she never asked for it, who held the family together while everyone else fell apart. Pillars don't get protected when buildings collapse. They just get crushed under the rubble. Just drop it, Ethan said, returning to his phone. You're creating drama where there isn't any. Nora left him there, fury burning in her chest. Her brother's willful ignorance wasn't innocence. It was self-preservation. As long as Dad stayed solid in Ethan's eyes, Ethan's world remained intact, safety net included. But Nora didn't have that luxury. She'd never been anyone's favorite, just their fix-it girl. Sleep refused to come. At 2 a.m., Nora crept downstairs, heart hammering against her ribs. Her father's jacket hung by the door, still smelling faintly of Elena's perfume, something floral and expensive. Her hands shook as she searched the pockets. A receipt fell out. An upscale cafe downtown. Date stamped during one of his supposed late shifts. Then she found the note.
Simple. Handwritten.
Devastating. Missed you already. The room tilted. Nora sank onto the stairs, receipt and note clutched in trembling fingers. This wasn't suspicion anymore. Not paranoia or overreaction. This was confirmation. Her father, the man who'd taught her to ride a bike, who'd stayed up helping with science projects, who'd promised her mother forever in a small church ceremony Nora had seen photos of 100 times, was having an affair with their neighbor, in plain sight, and everyone was pretending not to notice. Nora photographed the evidence with shaking hands, then carefully replaced everything. Her father couldn't know she knew.
Not yet.
She needed time, needed to think. Because this secret would detonate their family. Her mother would shatter. Ethan would blame Nora for speaking up. Extended family would take sides. Everything would burn. But keeping silent felt like betrayal too. Of herself. Of truth. Of every value her father had pretended to hold. Near midnight the following evening, the front door creaked open. From her bedroom window, Nora watched her father cross the yard. No pretense this time. No checking to see if anyone was watching. Elena's porch glowed warmly, welcoming him like coming home. They didn't hide. His arm wrapped around her waist. Her head leaned into his shoulder. They moved together like people who'd done this 100 times before. Like people in love. Nora's stomach twisted violently. This wasn't a mistake. Not a moment of weakness or a midlife crisis spiral. This was deliberate. Sustained. Chosen. Every late night, Every lie. Every time he'd looked Linda in the eye and fabricated another excuse. Those were choices. Active decisions to prioritize desire over family. And the cruelest part? He'd expected them all to stay silent. To protect him through their ignorance. Nora clenched her fists, tears burning behind her eyes. This affair wouldn't just destroy her parents' marriage. It would rewrite every memory. Every sacrifice Linda made would become meaningless. Every family dinner, every anniversary, every I love you would be stained with deception. Nora wouldn't scream, wouldn't confront him blindly with rage and tears. She would watch, gather truth, document everything. And when the moment came, she would decide who deserved protection and who deserved exposure. 3 days later, Nora sat across from her mother at the kitchen table. Linda was folding laundry, humming softly, a picture of domestic contentment built on lies. "Mom, I need you to see something." Nora placed her phone on the table. The photo of the receipt. The note. Screenshots of her father's car parked outside Elena's house at 1 a.m. Linda's hands stilled. The humming stopped. "Where did you?" "He's having an affair, Mom. With Elena. It's been going on for months." The color drained from Linda's face. She stared at the evidence like it was written in a foreign language, desperately trying not to understand. This can't be real."
It is.
Linda's hands trembled. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. 30 years of marriage collapsing in the space between heartbeats. "What do I do?" she whispered. "That's your choice," Nora said gently. "But you can't unknow this now. None of us can." Upstairs, a door slammed. Ethan had overheard. His footsteps thundered down. "You couldn't just let it go," he shouted at Nora. "You had to blow everything up?" "I didn't blow anything up. Dad did." "You're tearing this family apart." "No," Nora said, voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "I'm just refusing to pretend it isn't already broken." The truth was out, and nothing would ever be the same.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Beyond the Scripted.